Welcome to another special segment of the Youth Time Show on Grace Life TV with me, your host, Vanessa Zeke Ade-Ado. The UNFPA, formerly named the United Nations Population Fund, was created in the year 1969. It is the United Nations Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency, helping to provide safe pregnancies to aid reduce maternal mortalities and its others. The UNFPA has made it their goal to ensure the collective reproductive rights for all. This agency has also seen an awe-inspiring results, especially in the decline of maternal mortality rates in Ghana and across the globe at large. Join us as we interact with Mr. Niyi Ojuolape, the UNFPA's country representative to Ghana. Today's interaction will mainly focus on reproductive health, steps taken to eliminate gender-based violence and abuses, and the journey towards achieving SDGs. This is the Youth Time Show on Grace Life TV with me, your host, Vanessa Zeke Ade-Ado. You can call me the voice of the youth. It's Grace Life TV, diplomatic information and more. Don't go anywhere. The show commences very shortly. So welcome back. As I said earlier, I am here at the UNFPA Ghana headquarters here in Accra, speaking with Mr. Niyi Ojuolape, and we will reveal every information about Reproductive Health Agency and its help to the youth at large. Thank you, sir, for joining us on the Youth Time Show.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
It is indeed an honor to
Thanks
have
for having me.
Right, that's great. So please, is the name, did I get the name correct, Mr. Niyi Ojuolape?
You actually did a very good job of it, Ojuolape, but you did well.
Ojuolape?
Yes.
Good, okay, that's great. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the diplomatic or organizational missions you play and roles you play as a UNFPA country rep to Ghana?
Yes, my name is Niyi Ojuolape. I'm the country representative of UNFPA in Ghana. And in that position, I provide overall leadership and oversight for all the work that the organization does here in Ghana. And it ranges from issues of maternal health to issues of family planning, issues of gender-based violence, population and development. I can break them down as time goes on. So that you can have a better feel of it. But then programmatically, there's a lot that we do. But another important part of it is that I also manage the staff. We have a staff strength of about 85. And the operations and management that goes with that is not an easy one. So I also provide the oversight over that. So that's what I do. I also represent.
Thank you so much. And having worked with all your experience back in the headquarters back in New York, and also having some experience in development, consultancy and all, how has the experience been so far here with your short stay? What has been the greatest highlight of your stay here, which you'd like to share with the youth?
Well, I don't know if I can pinpoint any particular thing as the greatest highlight. I've actually been having several years of highlights here in Ghana.
Great.
I used to serve in the headquarters of the organization in New York. I served as special assistant to the executive director for about 6.5 years. Then thereafter, I acted briefly as the chief of staff of the organization. That enabled me to have an overview of the entire operations of the entire organization. UNFPA, by the way, we have operations in 151 countries all over the world. We have 6 regional leadership offices. And in the role also, we also relate with the headquarters also relates with the Office of the Secretary General and all the nations of the world that are represented within the UN in New York. So in that my role, I was providing specialized assistance to the executive director. I was also the head of the secretariat of the executive committee. And so it comes along with a lot of responsibilities for work. But then in the course of time, I was posted here to Ghana as a country representative. And this has been the most amazing part of my life. Because while in headquarters, you relate with people, which are very necessary in order to move the agenda of the organization forward to make things happen. But here on the ground in Ghana, you relate with the people that receive our services.
Great.
In headquarters, you relate with people who implement, who do the work for us from UNFPA. But then here in Ghana, I relate with the people, the beneficiaries of our work. And apart from the individual beneficiary, because, for example, if you see a woman that suffered from gender-based violence, and who, at the point at which we got in contact with her, was disoriented, had bruises all over her face, and what have you. Then by the time we work with that person to a certain point, you get her smile back. She's now beautiful. She's now ready to go. So you see the difference in that work. So the reality in providing services directly to the people actually is a thing of joy. If you see a woman who suffers from fistula, and eventually after we have facilitated repairs and all of that, the person comes back to life. Those are things that gives you joy. So personally, that gives me a lot of leeway to really see the effect of our work on the ground. But apart from that, I've also had the opportunity, when I was in headquarters, I didn't have the opportunity of having my own team to work with me to ideate and to innovate. But with my leadership of the country team here, I've had the opportunity to have ideas, to articulate vision, share, and then the entire labyrinth of coming up with an idea all the way to implementing it and getting the results.
Wow.
So that actually gives me joy. It has been 4 years of achievements. It has been 4 years actually of the demonstration of my passion and also reaping the fruits thereof.
Thank you for 4 dedicated years of reaping all this. But one thing that we also like to know as Africans is how are things like belief system, conservatism also posing as a threat to achieving holistic reproductive health? We're asking this because at times you may know there are places where belief systems may prevent people from achieving this. So how is this posing as a threat to your mission in Ghana?
Yeah, that's the reality of every of the average staff of UNFPA, and particularly for every leaders of country teams. The fact that we have primordial sentiments, cultural, religious beliefs that are actually probably not exactly in concert with what we feel should be the rights of people or what the individual wants to do. For example, the issue of family planning, which is a major issue. We have some religious beliefs that feel that you should not plan any family, you should not do anything to limit or to space even childbearing.
Right.
But you see, we have science with us, for example, which says that it's not, you don't, a child should not be giving birth to children. So when you see an adolescent who is getting pregnant, it's a result of the lack of information or services about family planning, about contraception. So that's what you see. And meanwhile, we know science makes us to understand that a child or a teenager that is in that stage is vulnerable to diseases and actually death. You're likely to see more death among adolescents who get pregnant than older people. Why? Because their bodies are not yet well formed enough to undergo the rigors of pregnancy. And also the diseases that come out of it, their bodies are not yet formed to overcome the morbidity that comes along with it. So there are religious beliefs, there are cultural beliefs that feel that, there is no big deal about this. But for us, it's a big deal because it leads to, there are life-changing situations. And apart from life-changing situations, they border on the well-being of the individual, and they can actually lead to death.
That's true.
So those are issues that we have to grapple with. And the key is very, very simple. We try as much as possible to provide information and education.
Which is very important.
And then services.
Okay.
So for example, say you want to provide reproductive health commodities to the individual. We tell them, this is what science says. This is the information that we have, which are credible for anybody to check up on. We're a technical organization, so there's a lot of research that has gone into this. So we provide the information. Apart from the information, we go ahead to let you understand it and to put it in your own way. And then thereafter, if the information and education resonates with you as an individual, these are the services that will make it happen. And we do this in a what we call it's a rights-based approach. For example, in some of our offices, in our office in certain countries, we have people who have women who have as much as 5, 6 children. And 3 or 4 of these children, I have the example, they have 3 or 4 of these children were gotten while the person was in the employment of the organization.
Wow.
Now, we would have done our bit to say, we give you the information, we give you the education, and the services are available. It's now your choice to do whatever you. So if you have the information and you still say you want to go ahead and have more children, that is your right. We're happy with that. No. But then, so the opportunity to be able to provide that information is just what we seek, so that the individuals can take whatever decisions that they like in their own circumstances. So the religious beliefs, the cultural beliefs of people doesn't really contradict with us. It's just that we provide the information and we let them to take their decision by themselves.
That is great. Yeah. So touching on another one, which is very important to the youth, as you are a youth-centered and someone who's interested in the affairs of the youth, we can see there has been, according to statistics, a very drastic decline in maternal mortalities, thanks to UNFPA, your team. We are very grateful. But we can see the issue still lurking within some rural areas, very remote areas in Ghana. What is the issue with this, and how are you helping to curb this as well?
Yes, let's give honor to whom honor is due. Actually, the decline in maternal mortality rates actually goes to the government of Ghana.
Thank you.
We and Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service. What we do is we partner.
Okay.
We provide support to them. The government is it's ahead of the curve in terms of setting the agenda, putting the policies in place. They also have the facilities in place, staffing and whatever. So we provide support to make that happen. And we're happy that with the support that we're providing and the leadership that government is providing, we're having some successes that we can record. But then we are not there yet. We know where we're going. We are already on the road there. We are moving faster than we used to do. We are doing better on that road than we used to do. But then we still have a long way ahead of us. And if we go steadily at this rate, we will not even meet our targets. That is the issue. That the rate at which we are going, we have, for example, set some targets for 2030, in line with the Agenda 2030 for SDGs. We have set some targets. If we go at this rate at which we are going, we will not get there. So there has to be some changes, some fundamental changes, some game-changing policies, some game-changing strategies that will enable us to up our game in order to get there. And it's because we have the structure of the country, the things that we've been facing all this while, they have not allowed us to get there. For example, the last 2 years of COVID, everybody knows all over the world it has been challenging. So in terms of resources, in terms of human resources, in terms of the facilities and what have you, the resources that would have been put into providing the enough equipment, into putting the chips compound. You know, the concept of the chips compound, it's a no-brainer. It's a game changer. That is where you can have health and health services and information also available to anybody. The objective is to say, wherever you are, within 2 hours of wherever you are, you have an health center that can take care of the things. That can take care of the things that you need comprehensively. That's great. So universal health coverage is to make sure that we reach everybody. So that is the issue. That's what we still need to do. Great. And we are already on the way to that. But COVID actually caused a pause along the line. But I think government is up to it. Government already has it in view. And we are also supporting government as much as possible to enable us to get there.
That is great. Thank you. So moving forward with what happened during COVID, we saw there was a steady rise in issues of issues with reproductive health and all. How are we curbing this since we are facing the post-COVID era?
Yes, you see,
It wasn't very
across the world.
challenging because we saw an escalation, I may
Yes.
say. Right.
I can mention a couple of them to you that are very, and it's all over the world. One of it is the incidence of intimate partner violence, domestic violence, gender-based violence. When you constrict people to stay together, maybe they were tolerating themselves before. They were just merely tolerating themselves before. And if you talk to me, I'll just take my car key and
just go out. But because we live,
well, because of COVID, you have to live with it.
Right.
So all over the world, there was an increase, perceptible increase in the incidences of domestic violence and sexual and gender-based violence.
That was
And
true.
also, what comes with it also, those, especially in those areas where people live in compounds or in places where they are not walled. So that neighbor, that uncle, and what have you that are around them, because children were not going to school, for example, and this is the real epidemic as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Children were not going to school. Their parents had started going back to work, but the children were at home. Over time, there is that uncle there is that neighbor there who takes advantage of the children. What I'm saying is this, is that because of COVID and because of the restriction of movement, there are people who have taken advantage of young girls, of young people, of the adolescent girl, and they defile them. It's actually rape, and it's a criminal offense within the laws. So the implication is that we have a more than usual increase in the number of adolescent pregnancy that we should have in the country. Actually, the figures for year on year might have been the same, but from the work that we have done over time, we're expecting that it would have reduced. But the fact that it still maintained that level shows that it's clear that it's from COVID.
Right.
An adolescent pregnancy or teenage pregnancy or unwanted pregnancy comes with all of its problems. That's one. Secondly, it is estimated across the world that because of the disruptions of COVID, there would have been because if you can't go out, then you can't have access to the family planning services that you would have easily gotten before.
That is true.
So across the world, we estimate that about 12 million people had their reproductive health services, access to family planning services disrupted. Right. And by virtue of that also, we also model that we would have had about 1.4 million unwanted pregnancies during that time. So Ghana has its own share of it at that time. And then also, when people who cohabit normally, who go to work and come back, when they are not doing anything, and they are not fighting amongst themselves, sex happens, and then so you have more pregnancies than you should have. But it is first as a result of people getting together more, and then secondly, as a result of the disruption in services. But in Ghana, let me also mention the fact that we did a good job of making sure that we parachute family planning services and commodities to people. We actually had to put much more than we used to have for the supply chains part of the thing. So when we got the commodities, we spent more money on making sure that it gets to the last mile, so that people could have. But then all of these are effects of COVID. So there are several other effects of COVID, and it's impinged on the health system, because some of the people who would have been working in family planning clinics and what have you, they had to deploy them to take care of COVID. Then some of the health workers they themselves also got COVID, so to say. So they were not available to be able to provide the services, right. And you will see that that will also have effect on the populace generally.
That is true. So one thing that will also will help us realize the gender equality is by eliminating what I'll say gender-based violence. But you will attest to the fact that our community makes this impossible. I am coming from a place where a woman has no say, which I think wouldn't have been the norm of the day during this 20th century. But we can see things going on in places and issues being reported. How are we dealing with this as well?
Yes, for issues of gender-based violence, it's been with us forever. And it is predicated on the patriarchal nature of our
African,
society.
which characterizes the
Yes.
African
Yes.
society.
So it's really not a Ghanaian thing. It's actually much more of an African thing generally over time. But then we have been improving over the years. But we are still at a stage whereby we still need to up our game in order to address these issues.
But
So
eliminating it totally, is that achievable?
well, it's going to be a big deal.
Right.
It's going to take time.
Right.
It is possible. Yes, we will still get to that point, but it's going to take a lot of time
process,
for us to
right.
be able to get there. And then the issue is that, and when COVID happened, and then we have issues of sexual and gender-based violence. Say, in what form? So what did we do? Immediately COVID hit. What we did in UNFPA was to, for example, we engaged with DOVSU. We supported DOVSU to establish the what we call the DOVSU hotline. That is apart from the fact that we went on rampage, so to say, with messages about domestic violence and what have you, how to avoid it and all of that. We were on TV, we were on radio, we were on social media. We even used social media influencers, online personalities to spread the message about that. So that's by way of information and education. But at the same time, in order to serve as a deterrence, we work with DOVSU. We established the DOVSU hotline whereby people can call in once there is any issue of this. And then quite a number of calls came. Before the end of that year, I think we got about 10,000 calls. Of course, some of them were, not all the calls were actually asked for domestic violence. But then we got a lot of calls, and we transferred all the cases to DOVSU for them to take care of. So that was one thing that we did. But the second one is this, because we realized in the course of operating that call center, that call system, in the course of it, we realized that yes, we can go after the offenders. Those who will go after the offenders and bring them to book. But the victims, they're already victims, they're already suffering. No form of support for the victims. So as a result of that, we had to go back again to the drawing board to set up a system that will respond to the needs of the victims, to support them, to provide them comfort, to provide them succor, to bring them back to normal. And this includes quite a number of things. For somebody has been beaten up, you will see swollen and what have you. The person reports, okay, yes, we are going to take the offender, but that doesn't stop, that doesn't mend the individual. So we have to put something in place that will provide support, that will provide treatment to those who need treatment, that will provide psychosocial support and treatment to those who need them, that will also provide legal support for everyone that needs. So that's how we established the Orange Support Center in collaboration with the Domestic Violence Secretariat. So it still exists now. All you need to do, it's a toll-free call center. All you need to do is to place a call to the number 0800 111 222. Somebody picks up the call, gets what the issue is, and then make sure that you have all the support that you need. And it's currently ongoing. Yeah.
Thank you for the Orange support. I'm really repping the Orange support system.
Much, yes.
Right. So we'll take a very first commercial break. When we come back, we're still here with Mr. Niyi Ojuolape, the UNFPA's country rep to Ghana. Welcome back to the Youth Time special segment. I've been here with Mr. Niyi Ojuolape. If you've been following, you've been very much acquainted with relevant information about reproductive health, measures to eliminate gender-based violence, and others. So before we proceed, I would like to let us know Mr. Niyi has served as the Chief of Staff at the headquarters in New York as the Special Assistant to the Executive Director. This man is endowed with leadership qualities. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm really inspired having sit before you, and
you.
I can feel the transfer of knowledge. And so before we go, one thing that has been hindering our part of the world is people feeling reluctant to report abuse. And it's been a very huge canker, affecting us. I will chime in my 2 cents anytime I feel there should be the chance. If I'm abused, I should report it. How do people go about this issue? I think you can help us.
Yes, you see, the issue of reporting abuse or gender-based violence is predicated also on the society in which we live in, because people have cousins, in-laws, families, and spiritual fathers who don't want rancor or problem in any way.
Right.
Actually, when somebody is abused, it's not even an offense per se against the individual. It's an offense against the state. So that person should ideally be prosecuted by the state.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the way it should happen. So when people don't want to, when they don't want to report, it's because they want peace. Because some of these people also, they rely on their abusers for their economic and financial needs and material needs.
So
some of them also, their social needs, the social system, the support structure in which they are. If they go to report either their boyfriend or their husband or what have you, they are going to be outcasted and all of that. So then the religious leaders, they are going to encourage them to say, oh, no worry, let's just toe the path of peace, forgive them, and this and that. So those are the reasons why people don't want to report. But then when the implication on the society is a huge one, because we're going to see the person that should be afraid of doing this, if there was punishment, would actually continue. And you see, the reason why there is punishment in the society for offenses is so that others can fear,
to deter others.
to deter others. But when they are not deterred, they continue, and that's what we see in our society when people don't want. We have many cases of people who want support, but they don't want to report. Yes, they've suffered gender-based violence, so they need support to come back to normal. So when you say, okay, but we're going to provide this support, but at the same time, you need to report to the police so that we can get them prosecuted. They say, oh, no, my mother said I shouldn't, or my father-in-law will be unhappy and all of that.
We'll settle it at home.
Yeah, so they will settle it at home. They tend to say, even very educated people, senior people in the society, they tend to not report. Now, the system of support that we have is also taking cognizance of the fact that people don't want to report so that their abusers are not prosecuted. But we need data that will help us to know the magnitude of this problem in the society.
That's true.
So the idea is that, okay, don't worry, even if you don't want to report them in order for them to be prosecuted, report for support. So that encourages people to come. So we are bringing the data together to enable us to know the magnitude of the problem of gender-based violence in the society.
That is true. So in order to receive help during abusive situations, you need to report to gain the support of the mission. Thank you so much. So at the recent celebration of the International Women Day, International Girl Day, all of that, we saw the need to provide support to young girls in order to aid them achieve their potentials. That will one of them was to end child marriages and all. Is Ghana making good progress towards the provision of potentials to young girls, especially, and women at large, to achieve their potentials, as this falls under the sub-theme of SDG 5?
Okay. I think Ghana is doing well in that direction. I can tell you. I'm familiar with what happens in other climes, in other countries. I can tell you that Ghana is doing well. Well, we still have a lot more to do. And I always posit this argument within the matrix of what do you want to see in 15 years' time? What do you want to see Ghana become in 10 years' time? And I say that you look at it behind the lens of the 10-year-old girl. The 10-year-old adolescent girl is the future of Ghana.
Great.
Because the 10-year-old adolescent girl in 15 years' time would have become 25 years old. So she will become an adult. That is the working population of the country. for that of the men, you can say, what about the men? But then the woman, the female, is actually the platform of the society.
Great.
It's a platform of the home. It's a platform based on which a home is predicated. So what do you want to see when this woman becomes 25 years old? Do you want to see an adult that is able to achieve her full potential? Do you want to see an healthy adult? Do you want to see an educated person that is able to bring education to bear on the society? Do you want to see somebody that is that knows what the technology is? Do you want to see somebody that is confident who will be able to achieve their full potential? If that is what you want to see, then when that person is 10 years old, you begin to put the right investment that will help us to get there. So that's why for the 10-year-old girl, you want to give her education. You want to give her information and education how to take care of herself, not just education about physics and mathematics, but also how to prevent her from getting pregnant when she's not yet ready for the pregnancy. You need to teach her how to take care of herself so that when the menstrual period comes for every month, she knows what to do in terms of hygiene and what have you. You need to educate her so that she's confident enough about herself so that the sundry guy or uncle or whoever around that can come to defile her, so that she can be able to, she knows when to run away, she knows when to shout, she knows when to refuse outrightly. So that is the kind of investment that you want to put in the 10-year-old today. And that's why when government comes and says that we're going to have free compulsory education for our children, it is the right way to go.
Great.
Because by the time they're having that information, they're having that education, they're on the way to becoming that adult of 25 years old who understands ourselves, who can be assertive, who has agency, who cannot be raped, who cannot just be taken advantage of in any way. So that is the line that you want to go in order for us to have a Ghana that is developed and that has women who are able to hold their own in any society. If you sort out the women, the men are automatically sorted out. That's what I see.
That is a very huge statement,
Yes.
and it's so true.
Yes.
If you sort out the women, the men will automatically fall in line. So thank you for this informative session that you've granted the youth. We are extremely grateful. So does the mission give internship opportunities for the youth? And how is that accessed? Because someone might want to be a reproductive health champion in his or her rural area or in his or her school. What are the processes to follow? Okay. And also for university students who want to have their internship here, you know.
Okay. Now we have the UNFPA agenda is predicated on what we call the three transformative results that we want to achieve. These two transformative results, we call them the 3 zeros, because we want to achieve zero in 3 major areas.
Yes.
The first zero that we want to achieve is to achieve zero preventable maternal death. That is, we don't want anybody to die in the process of giving birth. So we want it to come to zero. The second zero that we want to achieve is to achieve zero unmet need for family planning. So if you realize that you need family planning, your needs must be met. So every unmet need, we want to bring it to zero.
Wow.
The third zero that we want to achieve is to achieve zero gender-based violence and harmful practices. Every form of harmful practices, such as child marriage, female genital mutilation, and what have you, we call them harmful practices. So we want to achieve zero along those lines. So those three, if you look at those 3 zero, the transformative results, you will not be able to achieve anything except you focus on young people. It is young people that are likely to face gender-based violence, young people who have unmet need for family planning. It's young people who are, because it's a young person that is really pregnant, who is about giving birth, and who you want to make sure that does not die in that process. In that process of giving life, you shouldn't be dying. That's the way we see it. So UNFPA is about young people. And more so, in this country, we have a young population. We have a population of almost 60% of the entire population, 25 years and below, thereabout. So we have a young population, and we want to we focus our programs on young people. Now, apart from just following them, giving them information and education about all the things that we're talking about, sexual and reproductive health, we have also gone ahead to actually get young people to work with us.
Good.
And this is also based on our Secretary General's agenda for young people. The Secretary General of the United Nations actually has reached out, encouraged every agency to focus on young people.
Okay.
So we in UNFPA in particular, focus, given that our agenda has a focus on young people, we have also gone a step further to get young people to come to work with us. So we have internship opportunities if you are in school, maybe you are in graduate school, you want to have some practical knowledge about the way things are done in the United Nations or in the way things are done in the sexual and reproductive health sector. We provide internship opportunities. All the person has to do is just to write an application and send to us. So we'll look at them, based on the space we have and also the opportunities that are available, which area do you want to work or what have you. And then, of course, there are also a lot of applications coming in, so we'll sift through them and decide.
Great.
But apart from that, and very, very importantly, we instituted, apart from the internship opportunity that we have, we instituted what we call the Youth Leaders Fellowship in UNFPA Ghana.
Okay.
Youth Leaders Fellowship is a one-year fellowship for young people to come to work with us.
Okay.
So we're going to have an advertisement for the next cohort coming up next week. Okay. So we advertise in the newspaper. We put requirements there. We receive the responses, and having done all of that, we choose a number of people. The current cohort that we have right now is 25 young people. 25 young people. They are with us for 1 year. The first 2-3 months, we give them training about ICPD, about sexual and reproductive health, about gender-based violence, about all of these things. After the training, we deploy them to our different units in the office. They work with us. So some of the people that you see around are actually part of we call them ULA fellows. As a matter of fact, this is what it's about. These young people, this is our first cohort that you see here. Yes. So we get them to work with us, and by the time they finish, they're already working in this other organization. They're already working. They're already gotten overseas scholarship and what have you. So we actually create that environment to get young people to work with us. So we provide internship, we provide the Youth Leaders Fellowship, and we have also now started going out. We are employing young people more. Well, there are different modalities of employment, so to say, but then we are actually having more young people working with us. So much so that, let me tell you, when I first came in here to Ghana, we've had almost practically no young person working in this organization. But right now, our population is half young, half old.
That's great.
Half of the population of them. So we have a youth parity that is very huge within the office.
That is great. Thank you so much for all this information. So before we sign off, this is your camera. We would like to have a word of advice from you to the youth. What would you like to say to 1,000 to 5,000 people watching you right now who aspire to be like you, who are very much enthused about all the missions, goals, and all? What would you tell them?
Okay, thank you very much. That's not an easy one for me to
do it in a nutshell.
I'm going to summarize. The first thing anybody wants to tell you is to say you have to be hardworking. Hardworking in the sense that you put more effort. Anything you add more effort to, anything you spend more time on, you are likely to be more proficient in it. So that's one thing I encourage hard work in every way. For those who are religious, for example, I'm also a product of religion, and I'm a product of, we are in a religious country and religious society, and to hold on to your God, there is always the God factor that makes things work. So when you add that to your hard work, and you add the principles of integrity, honesty, and what have you, and you're focused in what you are doing, you are going to eventually do well. I mean, in whatever you do, you are going to be outstanding when you spend more time on it. And for young people generally, I encourage them, look for opportunities, search for opportunities. That opportunity around you that if you search very well for, you will find something that will place you on the path of life that will make you a successful person. For me personally, I've been particularly fortunate. I must say that. But then
A product of grace.
Yeah, a product of grace. So, but in my own little way, I've been very, very. Once I start something with my bosses, with my work, I'm there almost 24 hours. You can always find me working.
Thank you so much for coming on the Youth Time Show.
Thank
We are
you
very
very
grateful. So, as you heard him, hard work pays. So this is where we take leave of you all. This has been the Youth Time special segment on Grace Life TV with me, Zeke. The show comes your way another time. Until then, do keep safe. Bye.